Hey guys, it's carsonmtech here, back with another video, and in this video I'm going to be comparing two very similar security cameras from the company known as Reolink. Both of these cameras are very similar in a lot of their specs, but they vary in a couple of different specs, and that's most likely due to the one thing that is different between these two. This one is a battery-powered camera and can be plugged into a solar panel, lending for this to be completely wire-free, whereas this one, which is the Reolink Lumus, has to be plugged directly into an outlet in order to be powered. So between these two, I'm going to be answering the question of why you may want to or may not want to go with a battery-powered camera over one that is directly lined into power. So these two cameras are both from the company Reolink, and they did send me these for free, but they're not paying me to say anything in this video, so all opinions are my own. And also, this video goes a little bit beyond just these Reolink cameras. So if you're somebody who's considering another brand of cameras, hopefully these comparisons of why you may want to go with a battery-powered camera over something that's directly wired in is helpful to you as well. But with that being said, let's get right into the comparisons. To start off, we got to take a look at what is inside both of these boxes. So I do want to mention here up front, as I'm unboxing this Argus 3, that the solar panel is not included when you purchase the camera. It's actually a separate purchase, so if you plan to wire this in through a solar panel, it costs an additional $25 on top of the price already. So that is a little bit of a downside when you're purchasing this, but I just figured I would mention that up front because it's something that is good to know. But taking a look inside of this box, you will see that you get a number of different items, and when comparing that to the items that you get inside of the Lumus box, you'll see you get a little bit more out of the Argus 3 box. Notably, you get a couple more stickers, and you also get an additional magnetic mount to mount the camera on. Now, I personally find this mount to be awesome, and it's been super great at mounting the camera. And with this magnetic mount, it makes mounting onto your house or onto a post or however you mount this up really easy at positioning where you want this to actually be. So I personally like the magnetic mount over the cheaper mount that they included in the box as well, which is also the same mount that is included in the Lumus box. Aside from that, you'll notice that you get a short micro USB cable, but other than that, everything else inside the box is similar between the two cameras. So with that being said, before getting to that Lumus camera, just opening up this solar panel really quickly, you'll notice that you get a couple of things in the box. You first of all get that guide on top, as all the other boxes have had so far. You also get the solar panel itself, which is awesome in how skinny this is. I've had older versions of this Reolink solar panel, and they have surprisingly really brought down the thickness of this solar panel. Below that, you also get some mounting hardware, as you did with the camera, as well as the post that you mount the solar panel onto. Aside from that, that is all you get in the solar panel box. So now moving on to the Reolink Lumus. The Reolink Lumus has a pretty similar feel when you're opening up the box to the other two boxes, as it has the directions here on top. Inside of its accessory box, you will see that it includes a power brick. So this is what you'll actually plug in that camera to, and then plug that into the outlet. And then you've also got your mounting accessories. And then getting below that, you will see the camera itself as well as its coiled cable. So because this is a direct wired in camera, you will get around, I believe, 10 feet of cable that can be run to wherever your nearest outlet is. Other than that, that is all you've got inside this accessory box, and the only other thing you've got is the mounting bracket for the camera itself. Now that I've got both of the cameras out of their boxes and holding them side by side, you will notice that the Argus 3 is quite a bit bigger than the Lumus, and that's just simply because it's got to fit that 5200 milliamp hour battery inside of it. Just taking a look at the rear of both of these cameras, you'll notice that you've got your USB port in on the Argus 3 and the cable out on the Lumus. The USB input, this is where you will plug in your solar panel, or where you will open up to charge your camera after a couple of months of being discharged. On the bottom of both of the cameras, you've got a spot to insert your micro SD card. Both of these cameras support up to 64 gigabytes of micro SD card local storage. And then also on the Argus 3, you've got a power switch to turn on the camera. Below the main camera lens, you've got your daylight sensor on both of the cameras, and below that, you've got your built-in mic. And then finally, at the bottom, you've got your PIR motion sensor. At the very top, you'll notice these LEDs, and that's because both of these cameras actually have a spotlight built into them. So if it detects motion and it is nighttime, it'll throw on that spotlight and hopefully scare away intruders or help you if you're just walking around your house and you need to see. And one final thing that I forgot to mention on the rear of both of these cameras is an output for these speakers. Both of these have a speaker on them, so if you want to have an intercom type of system, you can go and speak to the person on the other side of the camera from your Reolink app and talk to them through the camera. But now that we've taken a look at both of these cameras, let's get to going and syncing them to the Reolink app. So in order to connect your Reolink camera to your smartphone app, it's actually a really easy process. All you've got to do is download the Reolink app. So if you haven't had Reolink products in the past, then you're gonna have to download this. Once you've got it downloaded, you just gotta go and sign up for a Reolink account. And then once you're there, you'll be greeted with this screen here on the front. So all you got to do for the Argus 3 is to make sure you have this power switch on the bottom flipped to the on position. And once you have done that, you want to go and click the plus button in the top right hand corner of the Reolink app.
Camera has been started up. Please run Reolink app, add the camera, and set it up.
You'll hear these voice prompts throughout the time that you've got the camera on, so once you go and scan that QR code, it'll just walk you through the entire process of connecting this to your app. You just walk through the process in the app, and then you'll be connected. Then, you just show the camera the QR code on your app.
To your router. Please wait.
Then it'll initialize your camera and bring you to the login password. This login password is here for security purposes, so people can't just go and scan the QR code on the back of your camera and add it all willy-nilly to their own Reolink app. So here is where you're going to want to put in a pretty secure password in order to prevent this from being hacked into and viewed by other people. And you are all set. So once you click Use Now, you will now see the camera inside of your Reolink app. And there you can see my glorious face there. And you can see a live feed right now of the camera. Because I don't have a micro SD card in the bottom of this camera, it's not going to record any of this. Both of these cameras do shoot in 1080p HD, but sadly it's only at 15 frames per second, which is a little bit of a downside, but you know, it's not the biggest deal breaker. Now with this connected, I'm gonna go mount up both of these cameras, and then we're gonna talk a little bit about the differences between both a wire-free camera and a wired-in direct camera. So let's get right into that comparison. First of all, they both have color vision plus night vision, so that means in the dark you're going to be able to see as well as in the daytime. And with that night vision, there is a spotlight on both of the cameras. So both of them have two LEDs that will blast out light when it senses motion in the dark, and it's also got regular IR lights like I mentioned before. It's got 6 of the IR LEDs. Also, it can see with those IR LEDs up to 10 meters or around 33 feet on both of the cameras. And finally, both of the cameras connect via a 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi signal, so it does not support 5 gigahertz. And also, both of the cameras are compatible with Google Assistant as well as the Amazon Assistant. So you'll be able to, if you have one of the screen devices, you can say display this camera and it will show up on your device. The Reolink app that is used for both of these cameras is phenomenal. I've been using it for years now and I have really never had any issues with it. So if you've ever had to deal with those cheapo cameras in the past that have really bad apps built with them, then that is not the case with Reolink. Reolink has really put a lot of thought into their app and a lot of time and development in order to make a very good app that is always responsive. Literally never had any issues connecting to it. There's never been any outages or downtime as far as I could tell. So overall, a very good experience with that Reolink app. Now moving on to the differences aside from the fact that one of them has a battery and the other one is wired in, since I already mentioned that. The first thing is that because the one with the battery, which is the Argus 3, has that battery and a couple more features, it is quite a bit more expensive. It retails for around $110 US. However, it is on sale right now for $93.50. So I guess snag it up now if you're looking to get something like that. On the other side though, with the Lumus, that goes for $60 retail. And you don't have to worry about buying an additional solar panel for that one either. So the price is $60, and that is also on sale right now for $48. Both of the cameras do have PIR motion sensing, and this is something that is usually typical across any security camera nowadays, especially the ones that are battery powered. Because of the battery powered, you don't want to have it going and recording all the time, or else that would just drain the battery. So both of them have PIR motion sensing. However, like I've already mentioned, the Lumus does have the capability of recording 24/7 to a NVR that's on your network, and I was able to connect the Lumus to my NVR super easily. Literally all I had to do was go to my NVR, I went to channels, and immediately there it popped up the Lumus and it showed the name of it, and all I had to do was scroll over, input the password, and it was connected. And that's literally all I had to do. So that was super easy. I didn't even have to scan the network. I didn't have to do anything. So if you already have a Reolink NVR on your network, or you're looking to get one, the connection process for a wireless camera onto that NVR is super easy, and it will just continually keep recording the feed off of that Lumus camera as well. Finally, between these two cameras specifically is the sensor and the lenses on the cameras. So for the Argus 3, that does have a Starlight CMOS sensor. It doesn't really appear to have made that big of a difference, in my opinion, between having that Starlight and the Lumus, which does not have the Starlight sensor. So I figured I would mention that. And as far as the lenses go on each of the cameras, the Argus 3 does have a wider field of view of 120 degrees, and the Lumus only has 100 degrees. So between those two, it's not a huge difference, but it is a little bit of a difference where it could affect you if you were needing to put this in a space and cover a wider angle. But between the two from a further distance, it really does not make that big of a difference. Alright, so now that I've run down the specs, just speaking in general about both of these cameras, like I mentioned in talking about these specs, I did notice that both of the cameras have pretty good night vision. I didn't really notice too much different between the two, other than the light on the Argus 3 is a little bit noticeably brighter than the Lumus is. So that is something that, although it's not like a huge jump, it is enough of a jump that you can tell a little bit of a difference. Taking a look at the footage that you get from the daylight from the sensors is also extremely good, because when you go and zoom into it, you can really tell how much detail you can get out of this 1080p sensor. And so this is one of the cases where sometimes a company will go and say that they have 1080p or 4K out of the sensor, but this time it really is 1080p, and it's very good. And although at first I was skeptical about the fact that it was only 15 frames per second, I don't find that to be that big of a deal, because it takes up less space in storage, as well as it is a decent amount of a refresh rate, although it just looked crazy at first. And the reason for that was simply because in my app I did have the quality set to low rather than 1080p, and that will go and drop the bit rate and the frame rate of the feed, which was why it was so much more jittery compared to when you look at a full clip at 15 frames per second, which is much more fluid.
Hello, this is Carson, and I am now speaking out of the Argus 3 speaker. Test. Hello, this is Carson, and I am now speaking out of the Lumus speaker. I'm standing in the same exact spot, and I'm not experiencing any cutouts with this Lumus speaker, whereas I did with the Argus 3. As far as the actual sound quality, from the distance I'm standing at right now, the Lumus does appear to be clearer in its audio quality.
So overall, would I recommend getting a battery-powered security camera over a wired security camera? I would have to say, if you are looking to get a battery-powered security camera, you're probably looking into it because you don't want to run power or anything to the camera, and that's understandable. I personally have went that way for quite a while. However, recently, after getting an NVR system, which you can check out my video about that up there, I found that those cameras are really good and reliable just due to the fact that they are on 24/7. The Argus 2 and 3, when connecting to it, because it's battery powered, it does take a little bit more time in order to get that live feed. And because it's not connected to power all the time, sometimes you have some issues connecting to it, even though the battery isn't dead. But it's just, you have some issues sometimes with it being a Wi-Fi camera that is battery operated. Whereas with the Lumus, I've found that most of the time when I'm connecting to it, because it's hardwired, it seems that the Wi-Fi is just always on. So when you're trying to connect to it, it is there, just ready to go and allow you to connect to it. So I found that to be a definite positive as far as the wiring in goes. So finally, just finishing up between especially these two cameras, if you are somebody who knows that you have an outlet nearby where you're wanting to mount a security camera, I'd probably actually lean towards the Lumus, and that's just simply because it is cheaper than the Argus 3, it has pretty much all the same exact features of the Argus 3, and you're able to know that you're going to be able to plug it in. But if you don't have an outlet nearby, or you'd have to end up going and running electrical cable, at that point, that is just so much more expensive. So I would lean more towards the Argus 3 for a scenario where you would need to go and reroute new power to it, or you're wanting to go and mount this out on a shed or something like that, where you know there's not any power nearby. Ultimately, it is up to you whether or not one would work better for your scenario or the other. But with that being said, that is pretty much it for this video. If you have any further questions about either of these cameras, make sure to leave those down in the comments below and I will try to respond to you. And also, if you want to purchase either of these cameras yourself, I will be leaving links right below the like button down below to purchase both of those. But with that being said, if you liked this video, make sure to let me know by clicking the thumbs up button down below, as well as subscribing for future videos like this. Also, if you want to see my last video, that should be right up there, and my Reolink NVR video should be right down there. With that being said, that is it for this video. Hope to see you in the next one. Peace.